Here we go. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Good evening, all. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope you're doing well and looking forward to summer, which seemed to speed up over the past couple of days. Um, During this past year, more than at any other point in our organization, we have witnessed change on a monumental level. Clubs have had to embrace a new way of meeting. Projects were still planned and executed, but some done very differently. Electronic communication has become the norm. James Baldwin reminds us that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. If y'all can mute yourselves, that would be great. We, Rotarians, have faced it, and we've changed it, and we've done it with grace. Now we have to shift to another mode, one which will allow us to bring back some of our old habits, but will need to be combined with our newfound tools. How well we do that, in part, will determine our future success. I hope you enjoy tonight's presentation, hearing from clubs that have transitioned successfully and share your success stories. So I'm going to start, I believe, with Kim.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Melissa. So one of the things that we are here to talk about is a little about hybrid meetings. I know a lot of people are a little nervous about going into hybrid and what do we need and how do we do it and how do we keep people engaged and our club all is one because we're going to be almost two separate entities, but we're really not. We're one whole club. So tonight we're going to go through a little bit of ways to do that. And we're going to hear from some of our clubs who have been very successful through the pandemic by being hybrid. And I've heard a couple of you talk earlier about being hybrid and kind of getting into it and trying it. So we want to hear your successes and we want to be able to hear your opportunities at the end of the session. So Melissa, can you go ahead and pull up our little presentation?
Oops.
Thank you, Melissa. So a lot of us have spent the whole last year and half of the year before on Zoom. And we've kind of gotten used to Zoom and some of the functions, but we also are just learning some new functions of Zoom. So here are a couple of things that Zoom can do for us that some of us might not know how to do. And through this, there will be slides on it, and we will share those slides afterwards so you guys can kind of have them to kind of work your way through things. One of the things I don't know if anybody has done is been polling, kind of doing a poll on your club. You know, what do you need? You can download the feature. Now, first, before I even start, I need to tell you, as you are getting into these Zoom functions, you must be the admin. You must be the one who can get into Zoom where you are setting the meetings, you are setting all the settings in there. I, as a participant on Zoom, cannot go in and change these settings. This has to be the person who is designated to your Zoom account. So polling is one of them. You can create a poll with the host and co-hosts, and you can launch the poll and see what people need through Zoom. One of the things that have been amazing is to record. You heard as we started on this, are we recording? And you will notice in your left hand on your screen, you see the little recording button, which is red, correct? This is letting us know that this session is being recorded. Why would we record? One of the great things about recording, and we use it in our club every single week. First, we're going to ask the speaker, is it okay if we record you? That is a very important question to ask your speakers because some like to be recorded and some don't. With recording and up to your cloud, if you have a member who is not on Facebook, does not use YouTube, but missed that meeting that day, you're allowed to be able to share that recording with a member who wanted to see that speaker but just couldn't attend for that day. Very cool in here is closed caption. If you notice, our closed caption is not on right now. Closed captioning gives you an equal opportunity for those who are A, hard of hearing, B, are having trouble with their audio. We did have a couple audio issues as we restarted today. With closed captioning, they can read along the bottom. And I will say, sometimes closed captioning does miss a few words or reverses a few words. So it's kind of fun. There we go. The closed captioning is on. And we will go through kind of how to get there. Reactions. So I have a large club. A lot of times we try to talk and we are talking and talking and talking, and somebody wants to say something, but they can't get a word in. Well, on the bottom of your screen, you will notice some captions, right? The reactions there. You can raise a hand, you can smile, you can do the clap symbol. And I noticed that some people will do this when they are clapping in their meetings, but I'll also see the little hand go up. Some of them have, depending on your computer, you can have multiple reactions. I've also seen people put on silly hats, sunglasses, just to get a laugh out of some of the meetings. Breakout rooms. The breakout rooms have been amazing. One of the things that our club did was we kind of like to have that fellowship. We like to have some time. So one of our meetings, we had breakout rooms, and that's something you can set also. And you can clip it so that people just go into a room randomly, or you can assign people to rooms. And in one of our meetings, we were able to give topics, and everybody was allowed to talk to those topics. One of our meetings, we got in, and people just were able to chit chat about anything for fellowship, so that we kind of kept everybody going. Now, going hybrid, breakout rooms you might not use as much because we're going to be able to be on the screen and we're going to be able to be in the computer together as Zoom. I did see somebody come up and says closed captioning is on, and somebody's not seeing it. I can see it on my computer. Is everybody else seeing the closed caption before we go?
Oh,
You have to click on the bottom where it says live transcript.
Okay. See the little CC button on the bottom? There you go. Mine is set to automatically come on. I apologize for that. So when you are in your sessions, you'll see also on the thing, it will say live on Facebook. It may say live on Workplace. It may say live on YouTube or live on a custom live stream that you have chosen. Those are a couple options of Zoom functions that we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. And we're also going to talk about how to get there. There we go. So as you can see on here, this is an example that is from my club. So you will see where it says setting. Setting is highlighted. And like I said before, you will need to be the admin to get into this screen. So here it says settings. You can either choose to turn the waiting room on or the waiting room off. In there, you can also be able to choose, do you want a password? Do you want people to be able to be unmuted? Do you want screen sharing? These are all options, and this is probably going to change when you go hybrid. So those who are taking over the Zoom accounts, I highly recommend you go into the settings and kind of look at where you are as you're going to go hybrid. Okay, move the next slide. So live streaming to Facebook. Why would we live stream to Facebook? Our club has been live streaming to Facebook ever since we started Zoom. And here's the reason why. Live streaming to Facebook gives us the opportunity for those who cannot be in our meeting to be able to see it. If they're working and they just need to have it on, they can't get into a meeting. It also gives members a chance to go back and watch it if our speaker has said, yes, you may live stream to our Facebook. It also gives us the opportunity to capture an audience who's not coming to our meeting. Many of us have Facebook pages or for our clubs, and in there you'll have people like it or friends of Facebook, and they join and we let them in. I think we have more Facebook members on our club than we do actual members. This is an opportunity for us to be able to capture those people where they can talk to us, they can see it, and they can also say, hey, you know what? I'm really interested in that speaker, what's going on. Or Rotary is doing this great thing and they look like such a fun group. They're going to dive in. And we also get other clubs that are joining our meeting who are not coming into our Zoom meeting, but they're watching Facebook Live and they're commenting to us. It's a great opportunity for you to get a broader group of people to watch your meetings and kind of spread the word about Rotary. So in here, you will see it says Zoom meeting title on Facebook. So we would label it Scotia Rotary Weekly Club Meeting. And then in there, it also says Zoom meeting description on Facebook. That's where we're going to put our speaker. We're going to put something really dynamic about our speaker that's going to make people say, oh, I want to watch this meeting, or click on it. And when it pops up live and those who are friends of your Facebook, it'll let them know that you're live right now. So just as easy as that. Fabulous speaker, or it can say, did you know, or today's speaker is blah, blah, blah. That's your caption to get people to watch. And it says, choose where to post your Zoom meeting. So on here, it's going to give you, can you put it on your timeline? If it was my own Facebook page, I could put it on my timeline. Yes. If you are the host of also your Facebook page, then it's going to go right to your Facebook page and people are going to be able to see that. See where it says public on there? We leave our Facebook page open to the public, and there's a very specific reason why. If I had it only to my club members there, if I kept it private, then am I broadening my spectrum? No, I'm not reaching other people outside of my club. We've had people in the public go, wow, I saw that today and I see that you're doing a food drive. Can I come help? Or I see that you're helping the Masons with a food drive. Can I come help? And it's just by talking and having that fabulous speaker there, or this is going on. We will also Facebook Live our fundraisers. We will Facebook Live certain events that we are doing. If we are at a food drive, I'm always on there Facebook Living. Hey, come on down. We've still got cars waiting. We've still got room for you to come down, because I'm letting my community know what we're doing, and it's showing up on Facebook Live, and it's going onto my personal page and our Rotary page. And on the bottom, it says, go live. That's where you would click and go live. So the person in my club is right here where it says on the bottom, you'll see live on Facebook. That's going to tell you you're on. And you can also, yep, there we go. The person who does my meetings for me, I do not handle the tech during my meeting. I am a president this year. I am not tech savvy, so there's a lot of times where I've messed up and I've erased the meeting before, or I've clicked live and it didn't go live, but I have a wonderful person who handles the tech for me, and she will say, we are going live on Facebook. And she will ask to the speaker, do you mind if we go live? Do you mind if we record? And then she clicks that button, and when she clicks that button, it'll say live on Facebook. Go right to the next one. Here's where you're going to be able to choose where you want to go live. Do you want to go on Facebook? Do you want to go your workspace by Facebook? Are you going to do YouTube? Are you going to have a custom stream? You would set these settings in the settings so that you know where it's going to go. And when you click on the bottom where you're going to go live, it'll say to you, do you want to go live here? Click yes or no. It'll give you the options and you can move from there. The next one. Here's the same thing. It's going to ask you again, select your page. See where it says Scotia Rotary? That's very important. If you don't put your club page in there, if I put Kim Talbot, guess what? It's going to Kim Talbot. It's not going to my Facebook for my club. So that is going to be very important that you look at that and make sure that it is the correct one. If I'm going to go Facebook Live in a meeting and I'm using my personal computer and I'm logged in, and it'll pull up on there, the little tab will come down, it'll say Scotia Rotary, Kim Talbot, bethegood.com. It'll give me options. Make sure that you choose the correct option that you are looking for. And then again, go live. Next one. Here's where I talked earlier about in your settings. See where it says closed captioning? closed captioning only can happen for you if you choose it in your settings. So many clubs have now gone with their closed captioning, and you can see as a district and as a multi-district, we have chosen to do that. But we couldn't just click on the bottom where it says live transcript. That had to be set up in your settings. And here's just where it shows you where it's going to be. So you would click those on, enable live transcript, allow the caption in the meeting advanced, and that needs to be turned on, and then it'll be set for you. And then when you get in, it'll come up just like it came up for me. And then when your club members, like you guys experience, you are not seeing the live transcript, so you had to click that little CC button in order to see it. For me, it automatically comes up because I have it already set in my settings. Next one. And there you go. Again, live transcript. It's going to ask you, and you can assign someone to it, a third party device, or just the live transcript. Next one. Okay, the tools. Oh, here we go, the tools, right? So, Melissa, what do you think is the most important item that we're going to need to go hybrid?
A camera,
Yes, why would we need a camera?
so you could see me.
Exactly. So if we didn't have a camera and we're trying to do a hybrid meeting, we're just looking at a blank screen, right? Just listening to audio.
Yeah,
How
you
fun
can
is
try
that?
using this.
So one of the
So,
things, go ahead.
yep, go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
So one of the things that we're going to talk about now is different types of things that we're going to need to go hybrid and live. Go ahead, Melissa.
Well, in most meeting spaces, in most venues, I'm thinking that a lot of clubs typically meet some type of a meal. So you'll need a laptop, a projector, a screen to project on, and a good camera, and a couple of different style microphones. Perhaps a lavalier or something for the speaker. And you can use a conference microphone, which is kind of one of these circles sitting in the middle of the meeting space. Because for those participants who are home and visiting the meeting virtually, they want to be able to see what's happening within the meeting, but also the people that are there live want to be able to see and interact with the participants that are virtual. So one of the best ways to do that is to have a large screen and a projector so that their Zoom profiles are showing up almost as if they were sitting in the room. The important thing is for you to assign, say, a Zoom host, somebody other than the person who is running the meeting. That person can be in charge of making sure that, yes, Karen, an internet connection is going to be very important. So a hotspot should be able to handle the Zoom meeting. I lost my train of thought, sorry. So it's important for, say, the president who is running the meeting to have a second person who is going to be focusing on the virtual aspects of the meeting, making sure that the people on the Zoom call can hear, making sure that they can see and understand what is going on. When you have a speaker, that speaker can be virtual or in person. And if you have a virtual speaker, of course, then that big screen comes in handy. If you have an in-person speaker, then having a lavalier microphone or something so that the virtual participants can understand the speaker clearly would be really, really helpful. There's a lot of different technology out there. I don't think that you need to spend huge amounts of money to be able to make this work. If your club has a laptop that's fairly recent, uh, then I would think that you just need the add-ons. Sometimes even the cameras on a laptop are not good enough. They'll go in and out of focus. So purchasing a camera, even a camera with a microphone attached to it, is a really good bargain. The biggest expense, I think, would be a projector and a screen, for you to be able to project, you know, those are typically far more expensive than some of the other stuff. Microphones can be fairly cheap. And that's any immediate questions. So Keith, what internet connection speed do you recommend? I am not that technical, Keith, but I can see if I can find the answer for you. Or is there somebody else here who would know that answer?
So a lot of our places I know will say, I have this. I know that we have a screen where we meet. So we are not going to have to purchase a screen. However, where we are meeting, we do not have great Wi-Fi. So there are a lot of times we can't run things. So we are looking at testing our hotspots. The hotspot on our phone, excuse me, sometimes is not strong enough. So we are looking at different types of things. We've tested outside inside the park using our hotspots, and that seems to work depending on where you are and the weather. We've also been testing in our club a new camera, which is a wide screen camera versus just the camera on the phone. So as you guys are looking at things, I'm going to tell you it is all trial and error because not everybody is meeting in the same type of place, right? So you might say, hey, I have a camera at home. Let's try that. You might say, I have these microphones at home. Let's try that. So I would suggest if you have people in your club who have items, try them out first so that you kind of know exactly what you're going to need. You know you're going to need a laptop. That's just a given, be able to run it, because phones will either get a phone call or they'll get a text message in the middle of it, and you really can't run your speakers or your people off of your phone if you're the host, correct?
So one of the questions in the chat box is, can you use a television instead of a screen, like a big screen TV? And you absolutely can. Basically, you would be splitting the screen between the laptop and the TV, and it would be acting as a dual monitor. That's a perfect solution. If your venue happens to have one, that would be great.
And that does work out nice. I've been, testing these hybrid meetings in multiple groups that I'm involved in. And I will say the coolest thing that I have experienced in a hybrid meeting is being able to see other people on the large screen and interact with them, with people who are live, we are in person, and people who are virtual. And what they did was we have somebody sitting at the computer, they have somebody monitoring to make sure that doesn't drop off, and they have questions come up just as we're seeing in the chat here, and they can respond to that. But the people can also ask a question and everybody in the room can hear them. The speaker can be up on there and everybody can hear them. The same with as if the person was in live, because the camera would be picking that up. So these are just some suggestions here. If anybody has, at the end, if anybody has something that they have that has been amazing and they're like, you know what, you need this. I just got out of a meeting this evening and we talked about buying a spider. And the spider is just this little camera that goes along the table and it turns the camera to whoever's speaking. So it's kind of cool. And you could use that if you had a speaker, or if you have a rotary table where, only 6 of you are meeting in person and everybody else is hybrid. That little spider would be great because it's going to highlight whoever's speaking. So there are lots of different things, and this is a whole new venture for all of us, and we're all a little nervous. But this is a time for us to say, hey, this is really cool. Let's check this out. Let's try this.
So one of the things that I was asked to talk about was YouTube. Our district has a YouTube channel. We've had one for quite some time. Setting up a YouTube channel is pretty simple. You simply go to YouTube, you sign in. If your club or district has a Gmail account already, then you're halfway there. You can also create a new Gmail account for your YouTube channel, but it is not required. You would select that you are there to manage a business. And once you have signed into YouTube with your new Google account, you can create a channel. our channel hosts all sorts of fun things. We have had meetings, conferences. I store some of the zone meetings there. And now with Zoom, you can live stream to YouTube. And live streaming to YouTube has the same impact as live streaming to Facebook. You advertise about it, get people to talk about it. YouTube up at the top will say, hey, these are the accounts that are currently live streaming. Perhaps your account will be one of them. So it gives you the opportunity to be exposed more. Plus, once you have a YouTube channel, you can embed your videos in any type of website. So if you have Club Runner, if you have a WordPress website, you can embed your videos there and you can point people over to your website to be able to view your videos. You can share them to Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, the whole gamut. So having a YouTube channel is hugely beneficial in helping you to spread your message. YouTube also has a bunch of built-in editing features. So maybe somebody doesn't want to spend, an hour watching an entire video. Well, you have the ability through YouTube or some other free tools to be able to slice a video down to say 3 minutes or 5 minutes. And you can pull pieces of a 1 hour video out and use them as little snippets and for different promotional ideas. So I strongly recommend having a YouTube channel, and if anybody ever needs help sitting that out, no, there is no charge, Peter, for a YouTube channel. They are entirely free. YouTube does have a premium service. We don't use it. I don't pay for YouTube. I don't think I know anybody who pays for YouTube. So for free, you're able to make a lot of great things happen and help get your message out.
You're stalking me?
Stalking you. I would say.
Sorry. So using a YouTube channel, you're able to get your message out, share it to a lot of different places, and it makes life very, very easy. All right. So Miss Kimmy, I think this is you.
Yes. So we have actually had a few clubs that have been able to do hybrid. So we are going to ask them to kind of talk to us about the challenges and benefits of their hybrid model. So we're going to ask them also, how are they doing hybrid and keeping everyone engaged and connected? And that is the most important thing about this hybrid, right? So we have people who are in person and we have people who are in Zoom. And we need to keep them feeling the same, engaged the same way. And it helps our retention, and it also helps us be able to spread Rotary a little bit more. So Matt, would you like to get our first club to talk a little bit?
Thanks, Kimmy. From our Johnson City Rotary Club, which I believe has a membership of about 15, our current district governor nominee is Rocky Martinez, and Rocky's going to speak. Rocky is here. He's just on the phone. So welcome, Rocky.
All right. So as scary as it may sound, I'm giving you video also. So just let it be known. I think a couple of things that I'll mention that was talked about before is that when you look for a camera for running your meetings, make sure there's something called a fisheye view, which is a good thing also to have because it gives you a wider angle view. So let's talk about, we've been running hybrid meetings for about a month and a half now. We have 8 to 10 people who are adamant about meeting face to face. And then we have 4 to 6 people who are not quite comfortable doing that yet. So we do via Zoom. I think one of the things that I'll tell you is I think everybody's explained now how the good things, you've heard all of the things that work. Let me tell you some of the things that you need to be prepared for. One is you need to have somebody who administers the meeting. Regardless of what you think, no matter what kind of microphone, no matter what kind of camera you set up, the in-person portion is always too noisy. Zoom, Facebook Live, all of the have a mono, what I call a mono communication. Only one person can talk at a time. So you got to have somebody in charge of the microphone to put the in-person people on mute as much as possible, because this inhibits anybody of your hybrid group, the ones that are connected remotely, to communicate from that standpoint. So you need to have somebody in charge with that. The other thing too is, regardless of what you think about the internet in the location where you're at, always assume that it's not working, and that you need to have your phone either on a hotspot or ready to connect it in a moment's notice, or some other process which you have multiple connections into the Zoom call. You can't have too many people being the co-host also, for the simple fact of that, as I mentioned about the internet connections, they drop. And that allows somebody else to take over and mute and whatever needs to happen whenever you're talking to people. The key that we found is that you must have some method of projecting those people that are not at the hybrid meeting, for two reasons. One is they see everybody who's sitting around at the meeting, whether it's through multiple cameras or whatever process. And two is the people at the meeting get to see those that are connected through Zoom process. And it's that face interaction that's really the key to the meeting, is that you do that face interaction type of thing, so people can see when somebody's trying to speak. So my recommendation is that, one, you keep multiple methods of your internet connection. Two is you need to have cameras that do a very wide angle or a fisheye type of situation, so that you get more people in view for people to see. And two is setting up the multiple co-host process. And for those of you who have administrator access, you know what I'm talking about, is you need to set up the co-host so that multiple people can take over when stuff happens, because it always happens. And then projecting it in some fashion, whether it be through a screen or a projector, it's almost a must anymore to make that happen. But I can say we've had a very successful, typically, like Matt mentioned, we have 15 members. We typically have 8 people that come to the in-person, and we'll have anywhere from 4 to 6 that tie in via Zoom. The real advantage comes to the opportunities where we've had speakers, and that's the able to bring them in at any time. And Zoom is by far the most easiest and the best way to bring in speakers in this time and an environment, because it doesn't involve travel. We meet at 8 o'clock in the morning, Matt, 8 o'clock in the morning, type of thing. So it's a challenge for some people, and it makes it much easier when you can do that. So that's my story behind how we've become a hybrid and what we're doing. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think we'll ever change. I think this is the new norm for us, and we'll continue to do that and give everybody the opportunity.
Rocky, you mentioned something about, which is very important that you said, about co-hosts. Would you recommend having one person live in person and one person as a co-host who is a part of the Zoom, so that if the internet drops, that Zoom still stays connected?
Absolutely. You are 100% right. We almost always have somebody who's remotely connected through Zoom in their house with a much better Wi-Fi connection than anything we're using remotely as a co-host for that situations. You have intermittent droppings where you're dropped intermittently, and that at least keeps continuous communication with the Zoom. So yes, highly recommended for somebody who isn't in the immediate area and who typically is home and has better connections. You're absolutely right.
And are you feeling that your club is feeling engaged with each other, even though they are separated, because we have some who aren't ready to come out and some who are ready to come out?
Yes. The key to the engagement is the use of the mute function, right? as all of us know, right? When you're in person, there's 27 conversations going on amongst 10 people. So you must mute that such that, but also unmute it so people can hear the conversation. So it's a skill that you must put on somebody for the muting, unmuting, so that that everyone feels engaged in the conversation. And that's really the key, is engaging everybody.
And do you feel that you learned this through trial and error? It didn't go perfectly the first
my
time?
God.
And that people need to be able to understand that it's not going to be perfect and you have to find your rhythm?
Oh, beyond, we have destroyed all evidence of our first attempt at hybrid. All evidence has been destroyed from our first attempt at hybrid, and it's done nothing but get better. So my recommendation is that you keep trying and don't give up when you have the failures, because there's going to be many failures that occur, and you learn from them, basically, right? You just have to learn from those failures.
And sometimes they're fun, right? People can laugh at it.
Trust me, there's a wealth of humor that comes from the fact of you mute somebody and they're talking for 15 minutes, and then you realize that the whole conversation was not heard except for the people in the room. So you have to pay attention, and it makes it a lot of fun when you get the chat call that says, "Hey, you're still on mute. We're not hearing anybody talking." So yes, there's a wealth of opportunities to learn, but my recommendation is you really, really must try it and learn from your failures, because there's more failures than success in the process. But those failures is what makes the meeting fun.
Exactly. I still get picked on for erasing my Zoom meeting
Exactly.
5 minutes before the club meeting, and we had to send out a new link.
Exactly.
So it's quite fun. You still get picked on, and it's okay. But those things happen, right? Don't say
and I'll
my club. They'll be like, no, kids aren't allowed to touch.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that even though you set it up as a reoccurring meeting, people still want to be notified every week of the new Zoom link. So you can't overemphasize sending out the Zoom meeting link every week. Just don't assume that everybody knows that it's the same one. Always send it out again.
Excellent. Thank you, Rocky.
Hey, thank you all.
Next, we're going to go to Janet. Janet, would you like to talk?
I would like to talk. My club is I'm from the Canandaigua Rotary Club in District 7120, and my club is about a little over 100 people. And we've been doing hybrid meetings. Well, when it first started, we started Zoom meetings immediately in March. So I just got my and then as soon as we were allowed to go back into spaces, we started hybriding. So basically what we do is we have 2 to 3 laptops. I usually host the meeting from home because I have a really good solid internet connection. And so I'm hosting from my house. We have usually 2 laptops in the room. We have a fairly large room because we have about 50 to 60 people who attend the meetings live, and then 10 to 15 people who Zoom in. And they Zoom in from all over. We've got people who come in from Florida, and people get back up a little from my camera, okay? So in the room is one laptop is muted and focused on the lectern where the speaker is, and one laptop is hooked up to the projector and the microphones and the speakers in the room. So if you have 2 laptops in the room and one of them is not muted, you get a lot of feedback. So you just have to pay attention to. And if somebody's got their phone on Zoom, it's the same thing. You get this very bad backup, very bad feedback. I just say when I'm hosting, I disable the waiting room so people can just pop in and I don't have to pay attention to who's coming in. that makes it much easier. Our speaker systems and they're connected, the computer's connected to the speaker systems via Bluetooth. So I'm not sure how that technology all works. We have somebody in the club that does all that on a weekly basis. So she just takes care of that. Let's see, the laptop that's connected to the computer or to the projector, we usually have that set up for speaker view, so that whenever anyone is using the mic or whenever anyone is speaking from that on that computer, their whole face is shown. So it makes the people in the room be able to see who's speaking and who's on Zoom. And when we have a speaker from outside of a virtual speaker, they're always set for speaker view so that the whole room can see that person chatting. A couple weeks ago, we had a presentation for our student of excellence. So the student was in class and he had to go out to his car to zoom into to our Rotary meeting. But it's a way it was a way for us to be able to acknowledge a student at school, getting his student of excellence and having the whole room see him. He can talk, he could chat with us. It's also a good way to keep your Interact club. They could participate from school. So that was, I think, fairly successful. During the summer, I hosted cocktail hours for the summer for our club. We'd sit down on a Friday afternoon at 4:30, 4 o'clock with our summer cocktails, and we'd just chat. And it was very nice to keep the club engaged to, you know, for some fellowship, even if we couldn't see each other in person. So anything else I should be talking about?
So Janet, when you are doing your hybrid meetings, do you feel that you have a very large club? So do you feel that your club is getting the fellowship through being one on Zoom and one in person? Is your club feel that way?
I think it's because it's such a large room. It is more difficult. So the people on Zoom can't really see the people in the room very well. We've just recently gotten a new camera, which works much better to give a broader view. But
and are they engaging between each other, or do you have people who are in person engaging with those who are on Zoom?
Oh yeah, they're like somebody'll zoom in and people in the room will see them and they'll call out to them and chat. You know, checking in to see how they're doing. A couple of weeks ago, we had a speaker. We have a group in town called Bridges for Brain Injury, and they bring exotic animals. So they brought exotic animals into the room, and while she was walking around the room, she made sure to come up to the camera so the Zoom people could like really get a close up of the animals. So we had a baby wallaby and a I forget, some sort of lizard. It was like huge, big. Anyway, she was carrying him around like a baby. But
are you feeling, did you have a lot of trial and error also? Did you have successes and opportunities and you worked through that to get your rhythm, or are you guys still finding your rhythm at this point?
I think that we've pretty much found our rhythm. I would like to have a better, I would almost like to have a laptop at every table to be able to, for people to see the people around them. But or a small camera, maybe that spider camera that she was talking about would be cool. But it is hard for the people on Zoom to see the people in the room.
Okay, excellent.
Thanks so much. Let me see. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint presentation if I can figure out. Okay, here I am. Phew. All right, so these are some of the tips that we've heard tonight. So designate a host and a tech person to run the meeting. The location needs Wi-Fi or a hotspot. A mic to hear the speaker in the room and virtually. A large screen so the in-person group can see the virtual group, or as we've been talking about, a smart TV would be able to do the same thing. Camera-facing meeting space so the virtual group can see the in-person group. Speakers, of course, can be virtual or in person. And the host must remember to engage both groups, the in-person group and the virtual participants. So those are some of the tips that we've come up with and that we have learned about tonight. If you have had any great successes, we would love to hear about them now. And the final slide that I have is just some resources. But this is, I guess, what you would call your average setup, right? So you have your laptop connecting to a screen or a a TV or a projector and a screen, a speaker if needed, and a separate camera so that you can use that to hopefully immerse the virtual participants into the meeting. Yes, this is being recorded, so everybody will have an opportunity to see all the slides. So does anybody have any success stories they'd like to share?
Melissa, we did have a good question here, and I'm going to go ahead and answer it live. So one of the questions that I received was, when you're doing your Facebook Live, there are many parts of a Rotary meeting. For example, the four-way test, if you're doing an invocation, if you're doing the pledges of allegiance, or you're playing a patriotic song. So we actually do include those in our Facebook Live. The things that we do not Facebook Live are, we don't Facebook Live when we have our club assemblies. We do keep those kind of private a little bit so the club can feel comfortable about talking about different items that pertains solely to our club. But everything else, we go ahead and we Facebook Live it because that's what our traditions. I am an old singing club. We haven't sung because of Zoom because that really doesn't go so well. We have not started meeting in hybrid yet. We just had our first kind of in-person meeting to test it out to see how many people were wanting to come. And unfortunately, our hotspot did not work where we were. We kept cutting in and out, so we could not do a hybrid meeting that night. So that was one of our learning opportunities. But other than that, we Facebook Live everything that we do.
Oh, I
Do you
had to
have any?
unmute myself, sorry.
Go ahead.
So one of the suggestions in the chat box is that what if we created like a little user group where we could share best experiences, best practices? You know, Zone 32, Zone 28/32 has a Facebook group. And if you are not a member of that, it might be worth joining and we can have our discussions there about this. And we can learn and talk to a broader audience. You'll also find a number of documents in the Learning Center, and Rotary has a whole bunch of tips as well. But I think that for us to continue this conversation, keep the interaction up, learn from each other, definitely using the Zone Facebook group might be a great solution. If you're not a member yet, you can just go to Facebook and search Zone 2832, and it'll bring you to the group you asked to join, and I will be more than happy to help. Christine will be sending out the recording link once it's uploaded to YouTube to all the participants. So you'll have an opportunity to see this. I can also kind of roll up my slides and try to send that out, or at least a link to where you would be able to download those as well.
Excellent. Yes. And I think, sharing our experiences and talking about it, Melissa, like you said, in the Zone 28 and 32 group is great because we're all learning from each other, and I might not know something and you might have a club that matches mine or the situation that I'm in. And by me following up with you, I'm going to learn something, or I might be able to do something that you don't know how, and we kind of work together. So I think those connections and working together, especially within your district too, is going to be absolutely amazing because we're here to work together as a team. And this is a whole new world. We did it when we went through Zoom. We all became Zoom gurus, and we worked together and we learned from one club to another. And as a multi-district, we learned how to do the closed captioning. So I think that those connections, and calling another club and saying, hey, have you tried this? Or hey, this isn't working. Do you know what to do? Those are going to be absolutely important as we go from our Zoom world into a hybrid world. And do we have any other questions as we're going?
So I want to thank everybody for taking the time on a Monday night to come out. Of course, we're all here to support you guys. If any time you need a little help, you need to reach out, you want to set up a YouTube account, or find yourself fumbling your way through Zoom, your district membership chairs have all kind of pulled together, and they have been working to gather information to help the clubs be successful in their hybrid meeting experiences. We at the zone level have also been working quite hard to help enable clubs as much as we possibly can. Tomorrow night, we'll be talking to the district membership chairs some more about some best practices during hybrid meetings, which they will also be able to share with you. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to be here tonight. Scott, I'm not sure if I can't see you, but thank you for inviting me to come in once again. And thank you to everybody who took the time to speak and share your thoughts and ideas. This is the best way for us to learn. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Kimmy.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Melissa. Thanks, Kim.
Everybody.
Have a good night.
Where can I get the full transcript? When I went to save it, I apparently didn't go back to the beginning, and I put a question in chat, but it was towards the end, and
So
I
when
didn't
you
see
say
it.
transcript, are you talking about the chat box? Or you're talking about the?
No, the transcript. There's a separate thing at the bottom for the transcript, and you could actually save. So it's what all the speakers said.
Oh, you know what? I've actually never saved it. Oh, well.
And it says everybody can see it and have it. And so I've been saving it as we go along, but I started late and I missed the first part of saving the presentation, which had some good information in it.
Okay.
And
Well,
do we get that written form or verbal form? Or
it's
both?
written. It's a text.
Oh,
It shows
terrific.
just like
That'd
the
be
chat
fabulous.
does. Pardon?
That'd be fabulous to get that.
So
Well, if we
I
can,
have-
it's like the chat on the side, only it's the transcript.
I'm actually looking at it right now and it's still transcribing. Cool.
Mine didn't start from the beginning. It's still transcribing, but it didn't start from the beginning of the meeting because I didn't turn it on then.
Okay, so I have saved it, and once we send out the email with the YouTube link, I'll add the slides and whatever parts of the transcript that I have gotten, and you'll get the whole bundle.
Okay, thanks. You know what? I am seeing more. Maybe I did it wrong because thank you.
Transcript didn't
Yeah, the
start.
transcript only started when you started the closed captioning.
Yep.
So the first entry is at 7:39. But it should all be there when you go and
Yeah,
save transcript.
It is. I see it now. Somehow I did something, maybe I was just too rushed and I just didn't see it at all, but I do see it now. Kimmy Talbot said, kind of fun, and that's what got us started. So thank you. It's just great. This was great information.
Thank you.